Hi. Today we're just going to take a quick tour through the new DSS4 software that we've just released. Just a quick tutorial. So as soon as you get your system put together and booted up, you're going to come to this first screen, just like it has in the previous software versions. Go ahead and click on the Open Controls panel. And it'll bring you up to the home page. Now, when we get to the home page, you're going to see some things that are a little different in this version versus the previous versions. Of course, you got a slightly different look to the home screen. All of your center information here is just like it's been in the previous version. So you have your target travels or weights, and that's the weights that we have it programmed to go to. And then you have your actuals for each wheel. All that stayed the same. Your timer is the same. Starting row and how many rows you want to go, all of that stays the same in this version. Position control or weight control, that's all the same. Let's go through the differences though. First of all, here on your home screen, you're going to see the right side of the screen is different on this one. What we've got up top here is we've got your 4 wheel loads, bigger, easier to see, so you can get a quicker view of those. Even if you're standing on the other side of the car, you can look back up at the control and see what your wheel weights are. Right below that, you have your total weight, and below that, you have all your percentages. So left side, right side, front, rear, your totals and your percent. And we got bike, cross. Below that, though, is just a little bit of, I guess I'm going to call it a little teaser for what's to come. But you're going to see there's 2 boxes down here. In this first box, you see it says static total weight. If you click on that box, you're actually able to enter in what your total static weight is. And let's just say your car is 2,650 pounds. You would put 2,650, and you would just enter that in there. Then in this next box over here, it's got track target. And you'll see this one is for the right front. What the track target is, the system will tell you how far your right front will travel at the track. And the way you're going to use this is we have a little cheat sheet, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's a chart, and on the chart, it's going to show you whether your track is a low bank, medium bank, or high bank track, and whether it's a low grip, medium grip, or high grip track. So you can look at that chart, and on that chart, it'll give you what your right front track target should be. So if you pull the car down, and you pull it down, you're making changes, and you're wondering, well, how far is it going to go? Well, you can use the track target number to show you. And there's more about that in the instructions. So that's the main difference in the home screen. Next, let's talk about the actual functioning differences. The first functioning difference is the recording. Before, when you hit start, it automatically started recording, and when you hit stop, it automatically stopped recording. That is changed. Now you actually have to push the record button when you want to record your test, and then push it again. You'll notice it turns red when you push it again to stop recording. So that's different. So if you don't start it recording, it's not going to record the data from that pull. The great part about this is you don't have endless amounts of tests in there that you don't want to look at. So just remember, you got to start and stop recording with this system. The next really big change is over on the calibration side. Before, you had a 0 scales and a 0 travels button down here in the lower right hand corner. You don't have that anymore. To zero the system, you have to go to the calibration button, and you see here you've got individual zeroing for every sensor. And you will need to zero each sensor individually. I think you'll find that once you start doing it like this, it's way nicer, way better. The neat part about this too, if you make an individual change or you have to move one sensor, you don't have to re-zero everything out. So you would just come through and you can hit 0 for each one of your wheel weights and 0 for each one of your travel sensors. So that's the big change. Your speed control is still here, just like it was in the previous versions. That's all stayed the same. And then your position calibration is the same, and then weight calibration is also the same. You'll see a warning coming up here telling you to be careful not to mess with your weight calibration. Now, with the individual zeroing, you really shouldn't need to go to position or weight calibration unless you got something going on. The final thing you got to remember before you run a test with the last two latest versions, you now have 3 data tables, not just one. So, and of course your data table is where you actually program in your travels. You have to remember, when you first boot the system up, you actually have to select the data table. You see it'll tell you data table 1 selected, and say OK. If you don't select the data table, it won't know which one to go to. So you'll punch in your number and it won't go anywhere because it doesn't have a table selected. So always remember to select your data table before you go to run your test. Other than that, everything else stays pretty much the same. Your data table still works the same. It's got a bigger save button, which is nice, so you don't accidentally overwrite your data. Always remember to save your data table. Every time you make a change, push the save button. Your wheel load graphs are here. Now, a lot of the other older versions did not have the wheel load graphs page, but all that stayed basically the same, just a couple little updates on that. You'll notice sometimes your wheel load graphs page may take a little bit longer to load up. That's only because we got a lot of data flowing into here. Remember on your wheel load graphs or your acceleration graphs page, if you want to, you can rescale your graphs by changing the minimum maximum position that's displayed and the minimum and maximum weight that's displayed. And anytime you want to pull up a test, just go to your history button, and you'll do that on each individual graph. Select whichever test you want to view and say OK, and then it would pull up that test. Other than that, everything else stayed basically the same. You do have bump stop graphs on here now, so if you have the bump stop option, it'll graph the bump stop loads individually. I think that's about it.